now tuned in to the Storm Tracker podcast.
So it's the Storm Tracker podcast. I'm Marcus Benjamin. He's Frank Tucker, and it's Texas A&M week, and I'm excited for this game coming up on Saturday night in College Station. I'm sure the team is, fans are. We've been waiting for this game pretty much all year to really kind of see where the Hurricanes are in the grand scheme of things. And it's a great measuring stick for the program. Although Texas A&M suffered a devastating loss last week to Appalachian State, which dropped them down to 24th in the nation. It's still a big test for Miami. Miami's actually an underdog in this game. Last I seen it, 5.5. They are giving the Hurricanes out in Vegas. So not a lot of faith in the program or them pulling out the victory, which I find that a little puzzling just because, Miami has looked, pretty decent in its first two games, and Texas A&M maybe not so much. I understand the bounce back effect. I mean, Texas A&M is looking to really kind of rebound from that loss, and they're at home and it's at night. All factors in the Aggies' favor, but I think that the Hurricanes have a better team, top to bottom. I think it starts with quarterback. I think they have a better quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke. Yeah, I think their offensive line is better as well. I think their D line is on par, or if not better than Texas A&M's as well. There could be a difference at linebacker play, but I think the defensive backs hold up pretty well against Texas A&M as well. So it seems like it's just that country doesn't really like Miami type of bias going on here for the Hurricanes. But I think this is a great opportunity for Miami to show up on the big stage and really show that they're not the same old Hurricanes of old, because big games like this in the past under the Diaz era and other eras, they don't quite show up in this game. Although the last time the Hurricanes were in College Station, they did come out with a victory where good old Greg Cooper had a big game. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. But what are your thoughts, Frank, on this big game coming up in College Station?
Yeah, I'm not surprised they're coming in as an underdog. I think Miami's in a prove-it stage right now. The rest of the country is kind of skeptical of what Miami could do in a big game against a ranked opponent just due to recent history. We really haven't lived up to the billing in games like Pitt. Well, we went into undefeated, and we've lost to teams like Virginia and Duke at times where we really shouldn't have. Now, have there been really good moments in the past few years where we beat teams like Notre Dame? Yeah, but once again, Miami's got to prove that they're at the level of the SEC schools that are continuously in the conversation for the college football playoff. I mean, just last year, Texas A&M was able to knock off Alabama. And then they're coming off one of maybe the greatest recruiting class we've seen since they started documenting the star system. So it's not shocking to see Miami behind in the spread. But I think Miami's in a good position here. The offense started clicking in the second half. I think that's going to give them some positive momentum coming into this game. They're averaging over 500 yards a game. We scored over 30 points in both games. And on defense, besides a few broken plays due to quarterback scrambles, I think we've looked really good overall. Guys like Leonard Taylor are stepping up. James Williams is playing a versatile role for this defense that's really needed with the lack of overall top-end talent at the linebacker position. I think this week we're going to see a big game, in my opinion, from Avante Williams coming off that drama-filled end of Saturday night. So I'm excited for the opportunity that Miami has heading into this game, and I think that this is going to be a huge opportunity to potentially jump up in the top 10, something we haven't seen in a long time here at Miami, and really be in the conversation for the best team in the ACC.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting how they do come out and play in that first half and first quarter, because last year that they didn't start out well in games, and last week they didn't start out well in games. So this is not that type of game that you want to start out slow again. You want to come out and really kind of hit them in the mouth and really kind of show that that defense is not going to give up a bunch of points, and that offense is going to move the ball and move the chains. And that's what I'm nervous about. I still am surprised that they are underdogs in this game, because they are ranked 13th right now, and Texas A&M is 24th. They struggled against an Appalachian State team that they shouldn't really have been struggling against. I think they were outcoached in this game. I think Jimbo Fisher was embarrassed and took a lot of that responsibility of the loss on himself. And he is partially to blame, obviously, but it's all about the players and how they execute. I mean, but you can't argue with the time of possession in this game, which is pretty drastic. 41 minutes for Appalachian State compared to about 12 to Texas A&M. When you don't have the ball, you can't score for the most part, unless it's a scoop and score or a pick six. So I am most interested to see how this offense is going to show up, though, and how this Miami offense, and how it's going to be more creative, because let's face it, with these first two games, it's been very vanilla. It's been very kind of standard type of plays. Aside from the flea flicker, you didn't see really a lot of creativity from the offense. And I think this is the week that Josh Gaddis and Tyler Van Dyke can make that money, can really get the bag this week, because this is where you kind of show your worth and show why there's this hype around you, because you're able to kind of execute in a hostile environment. That's something I think that they are ready for mentally, because of this coaching staff. I think this coaching staff really is going to have them mentally ready to go. But there will be some kind of shock factor at first, because you won't know how it really is until you're actually there in the building, hearing the noise, hearing the crowd, and really being in that atmosphere. There's a shock factor at first, but then once you realize it's just a football game, then they need to go out there and execute and really kind of show that this is a Miami that fans can be behind and recruits can be behind, because there's going to be a lot of recruits at this game, and this game could be critical for recruiting.
Yeah, I totally agree on the recruiting factor. I think going into the 12th man is going to be tough. Whether you've been rolling on offense, rolling on defense, right? That crowd is going to play a factor in how this game goes. It's just how college football is. The home field advantage is always going to be there comparative, really, to like the NFL. But I think Miami's got to come out fast defensively. I think offensively, it's they're going to play solid. Similar to what we saw through the first 2 weeks. Tyler Van Dyke's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But I don't think that this game's going to be won on the offensive side of the ball. I think they have to take a page out of the Appalachian State playbook and really limit the big plays that Texas A&M has, right? Ionis Smith, they're arguably their best player overall on their team, went from 4 catches, 164 yards in the first game and 2 touchdowns, to 4 catches for 21 yards in the second game, right? You saw a falter in a fall from their offense from week 1 to week 2, where they struggled in week 1 against Sam Houston State, but really struggled to the tune of 14 points against App State. And I think that's a huge reason for that. You take away the slots, you take away Haynes King's, easiest throws up the seam. And I think you have an opportunity to really stifle the Jimbo Fisher-led offensive attack. I think this is going to be a big game from Leonard Taylor, right? That offensive line we have seen struggle through 2 weeks against inferior opponents. And I think coming off his huge performance last week, where he got a sack, a few tackles for loss, was really an enforcer on that defense, coming off an injury at that, right? He got a stinger the week before. I think it's going to be a big week for him. I'm hoping that Akeem Mesidor can come into this game as healthy as he possibly can, because Haynes King's got some legs on him. And if we see, a kind of a similar performance to Bethune-Cookman, where the quarterback's running around and breaking the pocket and doing some things with his legs, I think we could be in trouble, because that'll open up some of them easier throws in the slot. And I think that would be a detriment to what this defense could do against Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think those are things that they can fix and they can, improve upon from the past couple of weeks. I think the offensive line is really going to be tested here. The offensive line's ability to prevent pressure from getting to Tyler Van Dyke, I think, is going to be key here. I think if Tyler Van Dyke kind of has enough time to throw and because he was hard on himself this week as far as his performance, so he comes off as a guy that will be righting his wrongs and really looking to improve in this next game, and I think he will do that as long as he has time to throw. There were a couple of lapses in blocking assignments from what I saw. There's a film review on CanesCounty.com by our guy Steve O'Cranning, and he really kind of broke it down and really kind of showed where there were lapses in the offensive line as far as blocking and blitzing, because Texas A&M is going to bring it. They are going to blitz. I mean, naturally you do that when you're at home and it's a night game, and it's harder to communicate with the offensive staff or whatnot. He's going to be communicating with Josh Gaddis from the coach's box upstairs, so there will be some issues likely in communication. So when that's the case, and if there's blitzing, Van Dyke is going to have to handle the blitz, get out of the pocket, and find his check down options in order to really kind of loosen up that defense. I'm hoping he can do that, and I'm hoping that there is indeed creativity. As far as I think the defense can do enough to win this game. I don't think they necessarily have to win this game. I actually think it's the offense that needs to win this game for Miami. And if they can get out there and just kind of execute, control the line of scrimmage, run the football like they've been doing effectively for 2 weeks, and then pop in some rooster in the action where he can just kind of take off with finding some openings, then I think they should have some opportunities to make plays. But Texas A&M does have a good defense. Appalachian State has a fairly decent offense. They were able to control the clock, but they weren't able to score as much as they would like, and only put up 17 points. And the fact that Texas A&M only put up 14 on Appalachian State, while the week before North Carolina puts up 63, makes me feel like, okay, well, this Texas A&M offense is not what it's cracked up to be. And if Miami can get up to, the 27-point range, I think that's a win. I really think Miami can win this game if they score in that range, 24, 27 points, because I don't see Texas A&M scoring more than 21 points on offense. Maybe they may get a turnover that, a pick six or something like that, maybe, or scoop and score, or a turnover that kind of sets them up for field goals and touchdowns deep into Miami territory. I could see that happening, but for the most part, I don't think this is an offense that is going to be running up and down Miami for the entire game. Now, first half, I can see Texas A&M trying to moving the ball well. Obviously, that kind of happens. That first drive is usually kind of a scripted drive that usually results in some success. But I think after that, I think Miami will make adjustments, and they'll pull this one out. I really do think Miami's going to pull out this game with a 4 or 5 point victory, even with the 5 points that Vegas is giving them. So
Yeah, I
take,
think
take
Miami.
Miami if you bet in Miami.
Yeah, bet Miami, bet Miami. Just like everybody should be betting my spreads for the high school games. But I think the two biggest matchups for Miami in this game are Tanmisi Adeleye, former five-star defensive lineman, especially with Walter Nolan probably not playing in this game. Five-star freshman defensive tackle was out with a boot last week, so he's going to be the main guy on that defensive line. And then Antonio Johnson, All-American strong safety, slot corner type guy for Texas A&M. He's a guy that he's leading the team in tackles right now. They're bringing him off the edge a little bit. He's a 6'3", 200-pound nickel corner. That's not something that you typically see. So I think what they're going to try to do is try to take away Xavier Restrepo, and the biggest thing will be is Tyler Van Dyke able to do something outside of his first option, right? Because last year it was a lot of Charleston Rambo, and that was a huge part of Tyler Van Dyke's success in the passing game. And so far, early in the year, we're seeing a lot of his success coming from Xavier Restrepo. But we're going to have to see more of Keyshawn Smith, Michael Redding, Elijah Arroyo, Will Mallory. All those guys are going to have to be way more involved this week, because I don't think Restrepo is going to be able to be that consistent guy going up against a potential first-round draft pick defensive back at Texas A&M. It's going to be a really fun matchup to watch, but physics matter, right? And 6'3", 200-pound athletes going against 5'10", 195-pound slot receivers, that's going to make things difficult for Restrepo in this game. I still think he has a solid performance, probably 5 to 7 catches, similar to how he's done through the first two games, but they're going to key on that. I think it's going to have to be a lot of Henry Parrish controlling the clock the same way App State did, and just keeping that offense off the field, because we've seen them make big plays. And the potential for them to score is there. Jimbo Fisher has the track record and the pedigree of being one of the best offensive play callers in South Florida. So, I mean, not South Florida, the country. My apologies. I'm stuck on high school. But I think it could be a shootout if we let it. I think you got to take, like I said, you got to take a page out of the App State playbook, control the clock, utilize those matchups, taking away their slot options. Kind of containing the pocket and forcing Haynes King to kind of beat you with his arm.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how they handle everything. But there are some other storylines, and it's kind of I guess, a homecoming of sorts, where you have Miami, the hometown team, going to Texas A&M, and there's a couple of hometown guys there, with Yule Keith Brown, Amari Daniels, Shamar Stewart. You'll keep Brown likely probably the only player to really get significant playing time. Maybe Amari Daniels gets some carries as well at running back. And then you got Shamar Stewart also there. So this is big for recruiting. We've already confirmed that Josiah Trader, Jeremiah Smith will be in College Station for this game, and they're not so much looking at Texas A&M. They're there to see Miami. And also Andy Jean likely going to be there as well as someone else I had on there. Hakeem Williams. Hakeem Williams is also planning to be there as well. Texas A&M is high on his list, along with some other schools. So it's big for those guys who are going to be there in College Station, but it's really big for every prospect or recruit, or even the commits as well, to kind of see Miami at least put up a fight. Now, what would be devastating for Miami is them getting blown off the field by Texas A&M. That'd be absolutely devastating for recruiting. Cannot happen. It can be a close game like we spoke about before, but it just can't be a blowout. It's just a big game for the recruiting optics, and because of that reason, I think Miami continues, because like I said, I think they win. I think they continue to kind of ascend with the recruiting, because once these guys see that, I mean, players like David Hicks, who's considering both Texas A&M and Miami, and There's others as well. If they see that, then that keeps Miami as a top contender for like potential 5 stars like that. Um, so yeah, it's big game for recruiting and just a big game overall. I'll be there in College Station for the game. It's going to be my first time uh, in College Station, or even in a stadium of that magnitude. It's actually going to be the biggest stadium that I've ever been in. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the atmosphere, and I'll be bringing you all as much coverage as I can through CanesCounty.com.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely going to be a big recruiting weekend. I mean, there's 5 different recruits just in 2023 that we're going after against Texas A&M. David Hicks, Hakeem Williams, who said is going to be at the game. Damon Wilson, the Venice defensive end, 5-star caliber player, and Tyler Williams, one of the most talked about recent targets for Miami. That was kind of like a Texas A&M Georgia battle in a way. Very similar player to Hakeem Williams, and then you got probably upwards of 15 kids in 2024 that are looking at both Texas A&M and Miami, as well as in 2025, like kids like Gavin Nix, Winston Watkins, Chris Ewald from Chaminade, Madonna. Like this is going to be a continuous thing where Miami's going against Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher is one of the best recruiters in the country. We've seen in the past us going against Texas A&M with guys like Shamar Stewart and Amari Daniels and a little bit of Yul Keith Brown. I don't think they pulled the trigger on him too much with the last staff, but obviously we see what his impact is in College Station. So this is something that this is bragging rights. You don't always get to play teams like Texas A&M. This is an out of conference game. This is a signature win, and this could be huge momentum as a potential game that could have you go undefeated going into that Clemson game closer to the end of the year. If you go into that game against Clemson undefeated in the top 10 program, and Clemson has continued quarterback question marks, this could be huge. This could be huge.
Miami's going to be on fire, by the way, if that happens. Miami's going to be literally.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like people think that the recruiting right now, with all the talks about money bags and all that stuff is going to be crazy. Just wait until you see what the potential recruiting class could be if Miami goes into the end of the season undefeated. The brand carries itself, right? And if the on-field production in the first year under Mario Cristobal is potential 12 wins, right? Which is what the season is, 12, 13 wins that you could be looking at if you beat Texas A&M, right? That's because this is one of the games that we were talking about, like, chalk it up as a loss. You can still win double-digit games this year. But if you go into this game undefeated, even if you lose to Clemson, right, you go 11-1 in the regular season, going into the conference championship game with the most wins we've had since, 2003, right? That's huge for the program. It's huge for the city. It's huge for Mario Cristobal in his first year. That means that we don't have to wait 5 years to see a potential title in South Florida. It could be even sooner than that, especially with the expansion of the college football playoff coming in just a few years. Like, this is a huge, huge game. I don't think that it kills Miami if they lose, but just the ceiling that, is opportunistically there. If they win this game, it's unexplainable how it could be for this program.
Yeah, and the schedule is, it's not that tough, to be honest. You got a lot of teams transitioning, and even the game after this is Middle Tennessee State, kind of a perfect team to play. I wouldn't say perfect, but like they're not an ACC team, let's say. I would rather play like a Middle Tennessee than like a North Carolina in this following game in case they win, because that's just a recipe for a letdown type of game. So yeah, and then after that they have a bye, and then they go into North Carolina. So you kind of refocus for that game going into the ACC play. And this ACC Coastal, not a lot of teams kind of scare you. There's teams that could provide a scare during the game, but they don't scare you on paper when you look at them. I think Virginia could be a trap game. I think Georgia Tech could possibly be a trap game as well, looking ahead to the Clemson game. And Virginia would be looking ahead to the Florida State game. So those are potential trap games that I foresee. I think they'll be obviously ready to play against Florida State and a Clemson. But those two games are potential traps. North Carolina could be one too as well because they can score. They can't stop anybody. It looks like they couldn't even stop Florida A&M. But I think that's a game if you're not careful, could be games that you slip up on in case you beat a Texas A&M. But one game at a time. We'll take it one game at a time. Let's see if they kind of get through this game before we start crowning them. So yeah, you touched on recruiting a little bit about the 2025 class that released this week. So just kind of looking at the list up and down, the first thing that came that I saw or jumped out to me was Armando Blunt at 8, and I think he probably deserves to be a little bit higher in my opinion, maybe a top 5 guy. I was glad to see Chris Ewald was there on the list as well. Gavin Nix being there is not a surprise to be of the top 100. But what are your thoughts when you first saw the list?
I love to see Byron Lewis as high as we have him. He is an explosive back that if he was on any other team in South Florida would probably be starting. He's just stuck behind Mark Fletcher right now, sharing carries, and he's been impactful through the first part of the year. And I think this is going to be a huge game for him against Chaminade Madonna. But I love to see him among the top 50 players in the 2025 class. Colin Hurley at 7 was a little bit of a surprise, but well-deserved state championship winning quarterback. Has all the measurables that you need. An offer list that stretches about 30 teams so far. And then, Winston Watkins up in the top 15. That's a kid that came to Legends Camp, lit it up. There was a lot of momentum there. After that Legends Camp, he, earned that offer from the new staff. And the cousin of Sammy Watkins is one of those players that could be a slot receiver of the future for the Miami Hurricanes. One kid that I was surprised wasn't on there, and a little disappointing for me, but I think he'll prove it over time, is Ezekiel Marcelon out of Miami Central, the linebacker that is the heir apparent to Wesley Bissain, having a hell of a year, doing some really good things, had a huge game against IMG Academy. The kid has all the measurables, 6'1", 195, 200 pounds as a 15-year-old, fast, athletic, really good in coverage. Lit it up at Legends Camp as well. Kind of mirrored Gavin Nix for what would have been a potential MVP award for whatever linebacker had the top performance in that camp. And I think that he's going to be a kid that Miami targets really heavily down the line, and will be a kid that will emerge in the top 100 before it's all said and done.
Yeah, to touch on EJ, yeah, I definitely think that EJ Marcelon definitely should be in the top 100 at least. He wearing the same number as Wesley was saying. He looks oddly similar. Wearing 17, although Wesley changed to 1, I think, in his senior year. So yeah, he definitely I think should be on there. But what about the new Miami offered defensive back, Omari Wallace? Were you surprised that he didn't make the 100?
I'm not, but you know how high I am on Omari Wallace. Dread, he's one of my favorite players in the 2025 classification. I think as he continues to build that resume and does it on the camp settings, right, and kind of get some track pedigree, doing something in regards to proving his athleticism, will go a long way to his potential ranking going forward. I think it's hard for us to really see every kid, and especially with the national guys getting a chance to see all those young kids. It's not an easy thing. So I think that's why it starts out with the top 100, and it's going to go forward. I think top 250, we're going to see a ton of South Florida kids. There's just going to be some prove-it moments. There's going to be some prove-it moments for these kids. Omari Wallace has been lights out through the first couple of games of the year. We saw him make some really nice PBUs against Booker T. Washington. He obviously had the game-stealing interception against IMG Academy, and we're going to see him in some other top matchups against Dillard in Miami Northwestern, and potentially American Heritage against Brandon Innes and crew in the state semis or state championship game. So time will tell with him. And if he proves himself in those top end matchups and Central ends up in the national championship conversation for high school football, both of those kids are going to get the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of high school football, I mean, it's another jam-packed weekend, especially down here in South Florida. The big game of the weekend, obviously, is Chaminade Madonna versus American Heritage. These are two teams that have been playing very consistently over the years, and it's kind of, it depends on the year on really kind of who wins, but it's usually always a close game. It's never really a blowout either way. A lot of great Hurricanes have played in this game in the past, including James Williams and Thad Franklin have played against each other in high school in this game. So this one is a big one, and unfortunately, I won't be at this game. I'm really mad that I won't be there. You might have to go on live so I can watch it. And wherever I'm at in Texas, if I'm over there eating some barbecue or something like that, I still want to see what's going on in this game. I want to see that Brandon Innes highlight live. I want to see that Mark Fletcher touchdown live, or that Jeremiah Smith diving catch, or JoJo maybe throwing another pass or something like that, or Edwin Joseph. I mean, the names keep going. Cedric Bailey. Cedric Bailey, I think we probably don't talk about enough. He's had really 2 good weeks officially at quarterback. I mean, yeah, he's got a star-studded cast with him, but he's been making plays, rolling out, buying time, making throws, throwing touchdowns. He's been playing great. We haven't really seen a lot from Bullet in these couple of weeks, but he's a guy that's, you can't call him a secret weapon, but he's like the weapon that they don't have to use, but we'll use him if needed. So he's there in the mix as well. And then you've got Miami target Omari Brown, potentially going to be matched up with Jeremiah Smith, probably the most intriguing matchup in this game. We saw Jeremiah Smith matched up against Antoine Jackson a couple of weeks ago, and now we're going to see him against Omari Brown. Omari Brown had a nice showing against Makai Lemon, so that's a very intriguing matchup to kind of see, and then just overall, I think these are. I mean, there's so many good teams in South Florida, but you could argue that these are 2 top teams in Broward County, which is saying a lot in itself. I mean, St. Thomas would be the only other, I think, contender of the top teams in Broward, especially since Chaminade kind of took care of business against Dillard a couple of weeks ago. So really intrigued of this matchup. Your thoughts going into that one?
Ooh, coming off a huge performance against Miami Northwestern, this is even more exciting than I thought it was going to be. If you run the clocks on Miami Northwestern at the Mecca Traz-Powell, that's only going to build the hype of your team. And I don't think that Chaminade needed even more hype heading into this game. The star-studded cast that they have on both sides of the football is ridiculous. Maybe one of the best we've seen in the last decade or longer than that. But you're 100% right about CJ Bailey. He has led this team to a 3-0 start against 3 elite level opponents, 3 top 100 matchups, which is ridiculous to say for a kid going into his junior year. He's got about 900 yards total, double-digit touchdowns through 3 games, averaging over 300 yards of offense. The kid is special. You can't say enough about what he's done. He's completely retooled his mechanics in a lot of different ways. That was one of the big question marks for him as a recruit, as a winner. I mean, his first year as a starter, he loses 1 game to American Heritage at that last year game that they were leading 17-3 until the final 10 seconds of the game.
Right. And then I remember that was a fluky game that I wasn't at, like the one game I wasn't at. Yeah. But you were there, and it was like a downpour going on in that game.
Yeah, it was a downpour. It didn't end till midnight. At one point, Chaminade actually went back on the bus because they thought the game was over. You had a near altercation between two athletic directors in the middle of the field fighting about the Lightning. It was a reality show in itself. In every year, it's like that for American Heritage versus Chaminade, and I'm so excited for this matchup because Heritage has been the boogeyman for Chaminade. Even when Chaminade is considered the top team in Broward potentially, like they were last year, or St. Thomas, right? You could always put them in the conversation. But when Chaminade is up there, they always fall to American Heritage.
Yeah.
It's their kryptonite. So this is the year that they're really supposed to kind of knock off the dust and get that W. But Blake Murphy, who's been lights out to start the year, along with that rushing attack, two-headed monster group of Mark Fletcher and who we mentioned, Byron Lewis, a new top 100 recruit 4-star running back. It's going to be fun to watch. And, I think everybody's going to talk about Brandon Innes, but there's so much talent on the field. Malachi Tony is another kid who's a 2026 freshman who has a Miami offer already. He's got 200-yard games under his belt in 4 games on the varsity level. And he's a special player. It's going to be fun to watch. We're going to see Edwin Joseph and Chris Ewald against a very good receiving group for American Heritage. On the other side, we're going to see Shamar McNeil, a Missouri commit, Damari Brown against JoJo and JJ. You're going to have Edwin against Damian Fagan. It's going to be fun to see, man. I'm so shocked that you're not going to be there, but listen, you can't miss out on the opportunity to see this battle for the Hurricanes and the Aggies. But it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. But there's also some other matchups that we got to talk about too.
Yeah. I feel like we could probably have a whole show talking about that game. There's so many names that we've named so far, but there's more that we could have named here. Wayne Pert, for one, I think is going to be a big factor in this game. If he can somehow dominate like he did against Dillard, that could be a major factor in this game. And we talked about Byron Lewis as well. I'm interested to see what he does in this game.
Kyle Washington
had a big game
coming off a 100-yard game. Yeah, off that 100-yard game. He's showing that 4.4 speed is back. I mean, look at what this kid has gone through, right? Torn ACL after his first varsity game last year where he had 75 yards and a touchdown. And then all of a sudden comes back, gets knocked out cold against St. John's, and then comes back in his first game back against Miami Northwestern, one of the top teams in South Florida, team I had as a top 5 team in 2022, and has 100 yards, 2 40-plus yard touchdowns. He kind of outshines everybody else in the receiving corps, which is super surprising when you have upwards of 4 Division I kids that you're battling targets for. So I'm excited to see what he does in the slot as well. But another game I'm excited about is Columbus Palmetto.
Before you go to that game, who wins?
Oh, I'm going Chaminade, but don't ask me to put any money on it. Don't ask me to put any money on it, Marcus.
Yeah. I'm not gonna put any money on it. I should, just for fun, because I think American Heritage can legit win this game. I really do. They have a legit shot, and here's why. It's the fact that you have Josiah Trader and Edwin Joseph playing potentially both sides of football, and that's not the case on the American Heritage side. They don't have anybody, I don't think, going both ways like those two guys. And I think that takes a toll. By the end of the game, I think, hey, that if Brandon Innes is playing against is matched up against a guy who's been playing both ways, or Malachi Tony is playing against a guy who's been playing both ways the entire game, and I think late in the game they may slip up here and there, and then all of a sudden we have a blur moment, So I don't know. I'm so mad that I'm missing this game. The more I talk about it, I'm just like, oh my God, I wish I was there kind of watching this firsthand. But yeah, I think Chaminade maybe squeaks this one out. You know what? Just for fun, I'm going to take Heritage. I'm going to take Heritage to win. I'll take Heritage to win the game. Because of the factors that I just mentioned, with Joseph and Trader potentially playing both sides, and Yeah, I think it's a close game. I think it comes down to the final kick or final play. It's going to be that type of game as it usually is. So I think it comes down. I think it's going to be low scoring too. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I say about a 1917 type of battle here.
You want to go double or nothing on our Florida bet?
Nah, man, I'm not gonna go double or nothing on that.
Oh, come on. Come on. You got to give me a chance. You got to give me a chance, man.
I don't feel that confident. I don't feel that confident in
You
that.
just said you wanted to put some money on it, man.
Like I don't feel that confident. If I felt confident in that game, like
I'll give you
I
two
could
and a half. I'll
easily
give you
take
2.5.
2.5. Give me 2.5 points. I'll take 3.
I'll give you 3. I'll give you 3.
All right. Deal. 3 points.
Double or nothing at 3. I love it. I love it.
All right, let's go. All right, you were saying Palmetto, Columbus.
It's the Miami target matchup too, man. You look at Dylan Stevenson, TJ Capers, Dylan Russell. On the other side, you got the Washington Twins. Ja'Cory Barney's going to be a kid who could potentially be a Miami target. This is going to be a good one. Palmetto kind of redeemed themselves last week against Killian. Struggled early, but ended up pulling it out with a 20-point victory. And Columbus coming off a game that we saw where they completely decimated a Tampa Jesuit team that hasn't lost since 2020. They were a top 20 team in the country by pretty much everybody. They were 15-0 last year.
That team that beat Northwestern and St. Thomas in the same year. That's pretty rare.
Yeah, really good team. And this is a team that almost beat American Heritage the year before. That was their last loss, was American Heritage, and I think the state semis, in 2020. So this is one of the best teams in the country, and they beat them 32-15. We're seeing TJ Capers completely transition to that off-ball linebacker type role, kind of letting Dalen Russell and Dylan Stevenson kind of just rushing off the edge a little bit. And we're seeing Setter Irvin turn it up.
Yeah,
and I'm not. Yeah, and we obviously haven't heard anything in regards to Miami reaching out, but if Miami doesn't end up with a running back prospect, he looks like a kid that you might have to revisit that, right? It's just the kid. Yeah, through 3 games, double-digit touchdowns, right? Leading South Florida touchdowns overall, right? The kid is off the charts, man. He is off the charts. He's been really good. We're seeing that signature explosiveness that we saw very early on in his career come back.
He's really playing behind catching the football too. Really good.
Absolutely. Yeah. So he's a kid that, like I said, we haven't heard anything, but with the Columbus connection that we know is so big, right? And his connection with his new teammates like TJ Capers and Russell and Stevenson, Dave Dunn has a really good relationship with Coach Maribel and Coach Cristobal. You could see a possible revisit there, and I wouldn't be mad at that, right? I wouldn't be mad at that because Chris Johnson hasn't obviously locked in, right? We don't see Cedric Baxter wavering off that commitment, and there's really not that many prospects out there other than maybe Mark Fletcher, and you're hoping for a flip against an Ohio State team that's one of the best in the country. Right? Unless you see a drastic fall from grace from the Buckeyes, it's going to be hard to flip them. Now, there's still potential there. We know that Brandon Ennis and Fletcher are talking, but like I said, I would not be mad to see a Cedric Irvin end up in the class for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, absolutely. But as far as this game is concerned, I don't think it's a real good matchup for Palmetto. I think Columbus, they played a really good game. I like what I've seen from Mendoza at quarterback. I think he is really kind of learning how to be a starting quarterback on this level, kind of, getting his opportunity here. And he seemed to get better as the game went on. And I think he's going to get better as this season goes on. And Palmetto doesn't really scare me too much as far as defensively. I mean, yeah, you got Bobby Washington in there, putting the hammer on you. If you are, running the football, everybody knows about him. And then also Gabe Hardman is another linebacker that we're really high on as well. But I just think overall, Columbus will find a way to, just like they did in that game. I mean, this was a good game. in that first half. It was pretty much kind of even. I don't remember exactly what the score was, but it was an even game. And then Columbus kind of made the adjustments.
Three times.
What happened?
They played 3 times last year.
Oh, Columbus and Palmetto.
Palmetto.
Yeah.
3 times they played last year, which is crazy. And they were all close. All within like all good, really good games.
But I just don't see that offensive line of Palmetto really holding up against this Columbus D line, who, you just mentioned Dylan Stevenson, Dalen Russell, and then possibly a TJ Capers coming off the edge or even up the middle. Like I just don't see them stopping them when they couldn't do that against Homestead. Homestead is a good team as well, but I think their D line is not as good as Columbus, and Columbus, they found a way to really kind of win this game against Tampa Jesuit. Tampa Jesuit, I think if they played them again, might beat them, because I think Tampa Jesuit turned the ball over way too many times. I think they had 4 turnovers in the game, and you can't beat anybody making that many turnovers, and they didn't commit to the running game. I think if Tampa Jesuit played them again, I think there's a high chance I think they probably beat them. But Tampa Jesuit also, I think, would blow the doors off of Palmetto as well. Palmetto has not been impressive this season, aside from the Washington Twins, Gabe Hardman, and the other kid, the other receiver,
Ja'Cory
Barney. So aside from those players, I just don't think they have enough against Columbus. I think Columbus, kind of shows that they're a complete team all around. You mentioned their receiver, who I didn't even know played for Miami Gardens Ravens. In your
Jose Leon.
Yeah, you can see that on CanesCounty.com. So they got pretty much a good receiver, good running back, good quarterback. When you have that trifecta and a solid defense, and they've got other players as well. They've got other playmakers that we saw. They got the Marshall commit also on defense. I just think Columbus kind of runs away with this game. I don't think it's a running clock, but I think they kind of win comfortably against Palmetto.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But emotions in football, anytime that they kind of rise up, this is one of those rivalry games in that 4A Metro classification. They've kind of been battling it out for who's the best team in the South. For a better part of 3 or 4 years. So I'm excited to see this game. I think it's going to be a hard-hitting battle. I don't think there's going to be a ton of scoring. I think Columbus takes it. But I think Palmetto kind of redeems themselves once again as proving that they're still one of those teams to watch in that large school classification for the state of Florida. Want to go to the next game, which would be Western St. Thomas? St. Thomas?
Yeah. We were Larry Bluestein, of course, a friend of ours was high on Western, making a game of this against St. Thomas. And Western, I know that's a program that's dear to your heart, Frank, and quarterback Colin Hurst. I think we all love as just a kid and a quarterback, and a kid that's been starting since he was a freshman, and is now, can't believe he's already in his senior year here. Has an opportunity to really have a signature win for his team and probably the program as well. I don't think they've ever beaten St. Thomas in its history, so it definitely would be a monumental win. But I don't think they got enough to beat St. Thomas. St. Thomas is like the machine, they don't rebuild, they reload, and they seem to have reloaded once again with the team that they have there. They've got a pair of really good receivers, 2024 kids, and James Madison and Chance Robinson, and the running backs look look definitely legit with Jamari Sands and Xavier Terrell. I think it's back
Jordan Lyle
now, and Jordan Lyle has been looking tremendous. I think that's another kid that Miami should probably be looking into because he looks the part for sure. And so yeah, I think St. Thomas. They're going to be tough to beat, but I do think it's going to be closer than the experts think. I don't think it's going to be an all out blowout. I don't think Western challenges to win the game in the second half, but I think in the first half they certainly came up. They even may even have a lead on St. Thomas in the first half, but I don't think they have enough to win this game.
Yeah, I think it's
I
gonna
like
be.
it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know how much I have love for my alma mater. I coached there, and it's dear to my heart, like you said. But yeah, it's gonna be very similar to last year's game that I think St. Thomas won like 31-14 or 31-20, something along those lines. To see a double-digit victory for St. Thomas, but if Western puts together a perfect game, it could be fun to watch. Santana Fleming is a kid that people need to watch. Maybe not for Hurricane, perspective, but maybe Mississippi State, Auburn, who I made a prediction for. He's a big time player and he's had a good start to the year. Despite a tough game against Coconut Creek last week that went to overtime, 10-3 was the final. Another kid that I really like for Western is Omar Thor, 6'1" linebacker, 2024 kid. Could be a kid to watch for the state of Florida teams going forward. He fits the mold of an athletic, long linebacker with a frame to put some weight on. And then on this side, I think we got to talk about Nick Rodriguez, just his ability to play sideline to sideline cover. He's going to be big in a game like this because Western throws the ball so much. So his ability to jump out of the box and cover slot receivers is going to be huge. And then obviously the safety duo of Miami targets, that is Conrad Hussey and King Mack, in that two high settings, that's going to be the biggest factor on if Western has any success offensively, in my opinion. Because they're good at corner. They got Kamari Robinson, a Duke commit, Isaiah Harge, a Colorado commit, who's also going to play some receiver. But those two kids over the top set the tone for this team. If Conrad Hussey's getting turnovers and King Mack is doing what he does on special teams and on defense, he blocked the punt. He blocked the punt last week. And we'll edit that one out. I hope we edit that one out. I hope. We blocked the punt last week, and he also returned a punt for a touchdown, right? And we obviously know what he can do. Playing, one high, also coming up in the box, making tackles against the run. The kid is just an overall special player, and that's why he's a 4-star prospect for Rivals overall. But yeah, man, Jordan Lyle gonna have a big game. Book it. He's already got a 270-yard game so far. I think this is the year he goes over 1,000 yards and really turns it up.
Wait. He had 270 yards?
No, he had 270-yard games to start the year so far.
He had a 270-yard game. I was like, when did I miss that?
He had 270-yard games so far this year, and I think that's a testament to his ability, right? He has Miami offer, which is something not a lot of people know, right? So he is being recruited by the Hurricanes, but he just wasn't a guy last year. Huh?
I said we need to pump that story out then.
yeah, we'll get it out there to the fans, right? But he is just one of those kids that, he's already got double-digit offers, but he just wasn't talked about that much just because he was like 4th on the totem pole last year. And that's just a testament to what St. Thomas has in their backfield. We're not even talking about Jordan Clemens. We're not even talking about Jordan Clemens, who's a first-team all-county running back that transferred from Palm Beach County. So they're 4 deep at running back. They're 3 or 4 deep at receiver. They're very talented. It's gonna be a tough game for Western, but St. Thomas, this is a prove-it game for them because if they put a beating on Western High School, one of the better public school teams in South Florida overall, then we got to start talking about them in the same lens as American Heritage Chaminade once again.
Yeah. The only other big game that I saw was the West trying to bounce back against Edison. You got the Miami commit Nathaniel Joseph trying to prove that he can do his thing against the West, but I think the West is going to be hungry after that loss to Chaminade. There was a lot of talk about the game leading up to that Chaminade game. So I think they're going to be out to prove it against Edison. I think Edison is just going to be overmatched in this game, and they likely, I think, will put a running clock on Edison. I hate saying that against to any team or to any coach, because I know some of these coaches and these players, but I think I think Northwestern is really going to be coming out really motivated in this game. And I saw Edison against Miramar, and they struggled to score against Miramar, who's a decent team. I'm not going to say, Miramar's not a good team. They're a decent team, but they put up a donut against Miramar. And Northwestern is, I think, much better than Miramar. So yeah, I think the running clock is in the cards for this one, but hopefully we see some big plays from Nathaniel Joseph over there at Edison.
Yeah, we're going to see a future ACC matchup with him and Raquan Atkins, who's probably going to be a nickel corner at the next level. So that'll be fun to watch. Potential future battle that we see at Miami and Louisville. So that'll be cool to see. But yeah, I'm totally on board with that. I think Andy Jean bounces back in a big way against Edison, over 100 yards. And watch out for King Davis. He's a kid that's going to be recruited by Miami, a 2025 running back. He had some big plays. He was probably the best overall player offensively for Miami Northwestern last week against Chaminade. And I think that this could be another big performance with him, especially with Omari Ford, a 3-star running back, banged up a little bit.
All right. A couple other games, I'm going to just kind of name them off here because I kind of, I'm keeping track on my little app here. I'm not going to say what app, but LaSalle Booker T is on Friday. It's at 3:30. That's going to be an interesting game. LaSalle, I saw Sharquez Lee at the game last week, and he's there with the Miami commit, Frankie Tinalau, going to play against a Booker T team that was hanging with Central for like a half or so, although there was no Ruben Bain in this game. I also heard that Qataris Hicks was not playing for the first half, kind of suspended or something like that. So, but still, you're still hanging it with potentially the best team in, one of the best teams in the country, hanging with them for a half. So I think this is an opportunity for Booker T to really kind of show, what they have. I did speak with Gerald Modest very briefly after the game, and a lot of big schools are reaching out to him. Miami, if they are really serious about adding him to the 2024 class, they need to jump on him because a lot of other teams are really reaching out to Gerald Modest. So that's a potential interesting game. And then Central's playing Carroll City, which is going to be probably a running clock by the, at least the third quarter. And then you got Edgewater and Jones. That's going to be a great game in the Orlando area where we'll have Cedric Baxter basically pinned up against Malik Bryant. That's going to be a very interesting game. Our guys in Orlando, Rhino, I'm sure is going to have the video on that. So that'll be posted on Kings County sometime next week. And any other games on this list that I see? No, not really. The only other one is really Norland versus Pace. It's an interesting Miami Gardens battle there. Going to have some players that Miami is looking at, of course, on Pace in action. Of course, Jeremiah Marcelon. Miami's looking at 2024 linebacker there. But that's pretty much it as far as the slate. Any other games pop out to you there that pique your interest?
No, but in that Booker T LaSalle matchup, I'm excited to see Jamori Flagg, a potential Miami target in 2024 at defensive tackle, a 4-star defensive lineman for Booker T, going against Frankie Tinalau. I think this is probably going to be his biggest matchup of the year. LaSalle doesn't play exactly a loaded schedule. So until they get to the playoffs, this will be his his most projectable matchup to the next level. And I would love to see how he does in that. Also, Gerald Modest, touching on, what you said, 6'1", long, fast, good receiver. I think not enough people are talking about him, right? He's a 4-star for us, but I know it's a loaded class with Jarrett Gibson and Stacey Gage and Bullet and just you run down the list. It is a loaded running back group. Yeah, it's Isaac Brown, if they wanted to get back into that sweepstakes at Homestead, it is a loaded running back group, and Miami's all in on pretty much all of them. But if they wanted Gerald Modest, I think that would be the most prototypical back we've probably recruited in a long time. Just his ability to grow into the position once he gets to Miami. Maybe not a freshman impact guy, but a guy that down the line could be an NFL prospect very easily. And then obviously that Jones Edgewater matchup, Cedric Baxter versus Bryant. That is what you want to see. That's what you want to see. That's high level high school football. Those are two guys that are going to be going at it throughout the game. You know how Malik Bryant is coming off the ball as an edge guy, and you know how good Cedric Baxter is with the ball in his hands. We saw him stiff arm somebody into a 6-foot hole, it seemed like, for a touchdown last week. He is special. And obviously you'd love to see a flip there. I don't see it happening, but it's as a Hurricane fan, as someone who's covering the team, that's a game that I'm going to be keeping tabs on.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be one of those games Friday nights that I'm going to be getting updates from everybody. Our guy Gio is going to be at the Columbus Palmetto game, so I'll be getting updates from him, updates from you from the Chaminade Heritage game. So it's going to be hard. If I'm going to try to have some dinner that night with the wife, that's going to be I don't know. I'm going to be like ghosting her probably for a few minutes, saying I'm going to the bathroom or something to see what's going on. But yeah, excited about this week. Excited about going to Texas. I've been to Houston before a few times, but I've never really hung out, on this adult level that I'm on right now. I'm a grown man now, despite what people may think of how I look. Yeah, I'm a grown ass man who does things a lot differently now these days. I probably would have partied in a different way in Houston, in the H town, but now it's on a grown and sexy vibe now. It's on a different vibe now with the wife. We're gonna probably go out to dinner. Who knows what happens after we have a couple of beverages, because things get we get a little adventurous, let's just say, once we have a couple of beverages in our system. And I would imagine that's probably going to happen.
You're gonna get on your James Harden thing, man. You're gonna be on your James Harden kick, man. Don't get yourself in trouble, all right? I don't need my publisher. I don't need my publisher getting in trouble, man. I don't need that.
That's kind of the perfect person to compare what may be going down in the H-Town. You know what I'm saying? Because he's known to have a lot of fun over there, and I certainly do. And like I said, wife and I, we're a very adventurous couple, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's going down. But
well, listen, I'll FaceTime you. I'll interrupt your line dancing, whatever you got going on in Texas.
It's so funny that you say that too, because my wife loves country music. It's so weird. She listens to 99.9 Kiss Country. She's always excited for the chili cook-off when it comes around at CB Smith Park.
Wow.
Yeah, she's like, it was weird. Like when I first started dating her, I was like, "Are you really listening to country music?" And she was like, "It's just like rap music. It's just like they talk about the same stuff," which is kind of true. True.
Ain't nobody talking about track. NBA YoungBoy ain't talking about no track. Okay? That's not happening, bro. It's not happening, man.
Yeah. Over the years, I've liked a couple of country songs here and there. Red Solo Cup is a classic. You can't beat that song. That's a classic, and can't think of any others off the top of my head. Tennessee whiskey. I know that song too. That might be like a blues song though. But yeah, I'm very eclectic when it comes to music. I pretty much like anything. Um, but even country. But so we may very well do some line dancing in in Texas, doing a little Texas two-step over there. I tell you what, the first time I actually went to what's that place over there in Davie, man?
Roundup.
Roundup. I went to Roundup one time. I was at a party. I was at another party, and this girl she was like of Asian descent or whatever, and she was like, "Hey, you want to go to Roundup?" And I was like, "What's that?" And she's like, "Oh, it's a country bar. It's a country bar." And I'm like, country bar. I'm feeling adventurous tonight. Yeah, let's do it. I was already had a few in me, so I was ready to go do something. Hopefully something else was gonna pop off from this. And so I was like, okay, let's go ahead and do this, So went out there, and I am not gonna lie, felt uncomfortable at first with the disparity in ethnicity. Let's just say that. Right.
Yo.
but once I got, some more beverages in me, I was like, okay, well, this isn't bad. And everybody, and then all of a sudden I'm getting pulled into line dancing. I'm like, okay, and then I'm starting doing a couple line dances here and there. I'm like, this ain't bad, and then they started doing the the more traditional, I guess you could say, type of line dancing, the to the right, throw it back now, y'all. That song, and I was like, okay, well, this is kind of a vibe. I don't know if I will continue to go there. I haven't been there since, especially since uh, we had a change. This was before we had that major change in the president. This was before that.
Oh my God.
This was before that period. So, but ever since that president became the guy, I was like, I don't know about going over there. I feel a little bit more nervous going over there, so I haven't been over there since. But now that we have another change, I may go over there again, maybe with.
Hey, you got a Davy boy as your partner now, brother. So you're good,
That's
man.
true. That's true.
You got a Davy boy. You got a Davy boy here, so you got me. Anytime you want to go to Roundup, man, you just give me a call, and I'm there for you. We can listen to some Chris Stapleton and some Toby Keith, like you seem to love.
Look at you. So you listen to country too.
Then. I got some country in my blood, man. I went to Western High School. We had horses coming in, to school. That's how some kids were getting dropped off. So it's just, that's the life that we lead, right? But no, man, it's gonna be
growing up. I never even heard of Western. I want to let you know, like, I never even heard of Western High School until maybe when I went to the game, went to a high school football game, is when I was like, Western, where's that?
Oh my gosh, you got to get out the house more, man. You got to get out of the house more, bro.
It's like, is that by Cooper City? I know about Cooper City. I was like, that by Cooper City? And then when I went there for the first time, I was like, whoa, this is not like Davie. This is like really Weston, like for me. Like, I'm like, this is like way out there. Davie for me is like, where Roundup is. That to me, that's Davie. Western.
Pine Island, baby. Island. Yeah, man. But nah, man. Nah, we gotta get out there to Roundup sometime. But no, man.
I do some line dancing. I will get some on video. You know what I'm saying? I'll get some on video, and we'll post it on the next podcast.
That we'll post that on the Canes County website. It's gonna be that's gonna be highlight. The Canes County publisher Marcus Benjamin is rocking the two-step and some cowboy boots and a cowboy hat while his wife is jamming out. So
I don't know about that. I'm still going to rock the the snapback like I always do here, but like I don't know about the cowboy hat, or the boots or anything like that. But I gotta enjoy myself, man. I gotta enjoy myself with the hours that I have to enjoy. I mean, I don't have days anymore to enjoy it anymore, but I still enjoy life because I love what I do. I love doing this. I love covering the Canes. I'm living the dream.
Yep, I think we both are.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think this is gonna round it up for the Storm Tracker podcast, and until the next episode.